Hello, everybody. This is Crypto Rookies for session 7. And welcome, Jane. How are you?
Hi, Patrick. I'm doing well. I'm really quite excited to be back and listen to our next session.
Indeed. Today, I think it's probably time to start building a portfolio so we can look at the various kind of narrative that are trending in the crypto space for this bull cycle. And we can pick a few categories that we like, and then we can start building a portfolio. So yeah, I'll put in the description of this video a link to this blog post. But yeah, I describe several different categories of interest for this bull cycle. And basically in this article, I covered 11 different niches of the crypto space that I feel are maybe interesting to look into. So the very first one to consider is that layer one. This is like your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your Solana, Near. There's a ton of layer one nowadays. Like it almost never ends, but most of the app that we want to invest in are built on layer ones. So depending on how much risk averse you are, it might be interesting to invest in layer one. Often, the layer one are the one who survive a bear market, or at least they reach an all-time high multiple bull market. That's the case for Bitcoin and Ethereum, not so much for every other currency, but I suspect Solana would be one that would have a new all-time high this bull cycle. So the advantage of a layer one is that they tend to be slightly more stable and growing as long as there's adoption on the technology built on top of them. So at every bull cycle, the specific decentralized app built on layer one sometimes change in terms of which one perform well and which one doesn't. But during a bull cycle, a new token on the layer one that is growing tend to outperform the layer one itself. So not always, but that's often the case. So if you want to build aggressive, high return type of portfolio, it's good to pick a layer one that you believe in and then invest in specific projects on that layer one because they will tend to outperform the layer one itself. And then as you get closer to the end of the bull cycle, you can basically sell off those specific projects on the layer one and convert back into the layer one itself. And the layer one sometimes don't suffer such a massive collapse compared to the decentralized app built on them. Some layer ones suffer pretty massive collapse still, so you have to consider that. But in 2025, according to what we believe in, that it may be the next bear market start in mid 2025. Do you go back to US currency or do you stay in some layer one? That's a big question because US currency is also in a danger zone to get devalued at some point. So we'll have to take a decision at that point in time. We still have a year and a half. But in the meantime, investing in a few layer one will be useful because if you're building or using decentralized app on them, you need to pay a transaction fee in the token of the layer one anyway. So,
but it's also connected to the vesting period if you invest. So if it happens that the bull run is 2024, 2025, maybe at that range. So like your vesting moments should be during this bull run, no? So that you can take out.
Yeah, but it depends what you believe in. For me, I think I'm not sure I will convert all of my capital back in US currency. Okay, I'm thinking to buy maybe some sort of commodity, like a rare earth metals that are going to electronics, stuff like that. But yeah, we'll see. It depends what the market will look like in a year and a half. It's hard to predict. But no matter what, I would like a small percentage of our portfolio in a few layer ones at least. Like a lot of crypto people recommend to put 50 or 60% of your portfolio in layer ones, like in Bitcoin, Ethereum. For me, I'm confident the bull run will be pretty strong. So I would rather invest more heavily into specific project on those layer one and maybe 20% of my portfolio in the layer one themselves. But there's a high tolerance for risk. Not everybody is like that. So
It's probably will be easy to see if this is like the app is built on layer one. So usually on white paper, they inform you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you can check also where the tokens are traded and all those things. So you can find that out. Yeah. In terms of layer one, here I have Bitcoin and Solana and Polygon is layer two. I would add SPA to look into and BitTensor. Both of them are layer one also. And I would add SIG. And do you have any layer one that you personally like and you would like to consider?
I think you covered most of them.
Which one do you like? So for you, there's two in this list that you like more than others?
What's Caspa? Because I never heard about Caspa.
Yeah, Caspa is like a proof of work layer one, like Bitcoin, with very similar tokenomics. But the thing is that it uses a DAG data structure as opposed to blocks, the way they are formed. So the DAG, what it means is that you can actually have a lot faster throughput of transaction. So the thing, it's basically very similar to Bitcoin, but a lot faster to write data and all that stuff. So it's grown like quite a lot. And the thing, if you look on Curator, like you can look on the description of this video for the details, but a lot of analysts review Caspa back in February, and I think it has grown, I think, more than 1,000% since then. So the thing, it's the market cap currently is $2.6 billion, and the market cap in circulation compared to fully diluted is the same. So that means that's a mistake, actually. Yeah, CoinGecko has a mistake in that regard, because it's like Bitcoin. Not all tokens are in circulation because you have to mine, and there's a halving every 4 years. And that's the thing. It launched in May 2022, and then in February of 2023, which is when it was reviewed on Curator, it was at half a cent, and it peaked at 14 cents. So it had like a massive growth since then. And then saying over a year, it's 71,000% growth. But the thing is that with a market cap of 2.6 billion, I looked at the tokenomics, and because it's very similar to Bitcoin, I don't have much concern there. And they are building a way to have smart contract that can run on this. And that's at this point in time, I would not build a cryptocurrency that doesn't have smart contract capability. So that's a pretty crucial piece of their technology that they need to exist. But I think at 2.6 billion, I would say that this bull cycle, it could go as high as, I would say, 20 billion to probably 40 billion in market cap. So that's 10 to 20x what it's currently at. So I think it's worth it to put in your portfolio. There's always a danger that it could be hacked because it's a new technology stack compared to Bitcoin. It's a lot more recent, but so I think it's a really interesting project overall. And what's interesting is that I would like to build a portfolio that is SEC compliant. And I believe that Caspa would be SEC compliant because there was no pre-sale with the expectation of profit. It's being released like Bitcoin. So you have to or buy it from other users more than anything. So I think it should be able to get listed on Coinbase and on exchanges that will have to follow the rules in the US. So I think that's another big plus. At some point, institutional investors might be interested to get into Caspa as well.
Yeah,
so,
I think maybe shall I go for that one? We'll see.
Yeah. For me, I'm really interested in that one, so I'll put it in green. And BitTensor, I really want to get into that one also. I'll put there some notes that I would say it's probably a 10 to 20x this bull cycle. I would expect, and let's take a look at BitTensor. So what's interesting with BitTensor is that it's a layer 1 where you can deploy AI models. So there's, okay, and then let's go to our category. So there's layer 1 and layer 2 to consider. Layer 2 right now, I would ideally focus on the Ethereum ones. And then I think artificial intelligence, it's a category that I would put a lot of attention. SocialFi, I would want to invest in some SocialFi application. Gambling, I would want some capital in there. DeFi, I think, should do well again. It's always a big plus in the last bull run. It did really well. That and GameFi did really well in the last one as well. And what's interesting with GameFi this time around is that there will actually be AAA game on the market, which was not the case in the last bull run. And a AAA game is what really attract real gamers. So I think this bull cycle, there will be at least several good, very high quality games that are crypto games. And that's to keep an eye for. TradeFi, I would say that it's a bit similar to DeFi, but it's often more done on centralized exchange. But I think both of them, it's about trading and all that stuff. I would say that there's lots of toolings there that have value, and we can cover that. I put stable growth. Those are basically like flat coins. It's not something you would want to invest to get 10x or 20x return, but it's something that if there's one that came out in this bull cycle and it really takes off, it's something that you might want to use to protect your collateral or your capital once we get close to the bear market. And as well, at any point in time, if you can keep some of your money in stable growth token as opposed to stable coins, you will get a tiny bit of extra yield. Because when you're trading, you don't all have 100% of your capital in actual crypto assets. A lot of it is in stable coin because you need to keep some money, because when you buy and sell, it's usually in stable coins that you do that. So I think stable growth token is a new type of version that offset the inflation. It's something that would grow just a tiny bit to give you a rate like maybe 10% per year, like inflation, but it would be a replacement to stable coins. So
and what's the difference between flat coin and stable coin?
The thing, a flat coin is to me, it's equivalent to a stable growth token. It's something that is maybe pegged on US currency, but instead of always being 1-to-1, it increased a little bit. The price can increase just a tiny bit to give you a return equivalent to inflation, basically. Because if you keep a large amount of US currency, you lose to inflation every year. So not so fun. And then SEC compliant securities. They could be securities or they could be utilities. Bitcoin is not considered a security. So when we were talking about Caspa, and I think BitTensor also would probably qualify as utility, not securities. But you could also have SEC compliant securities, token that are securities, but went into the normal process to be registered securities. I think both of those will have a very good return this bull cycle as institutional investors move in the industry. A lot of them will not be allowed to invest in things that are not SEC compliant. And I think all of the centralized exchange that operate in the US might be forced to only list SEC compliant token on their exchange. And I think Coinbase will be one of those. So I think there will be very few tokens to invest that are SEC compliant. So if you invest in them, I think a lot of money will concentrate toward those. So I think my portfolio, I would want to try to get as much SEC compliant tokens as possible. And then there's the asset-backed tokens. Those might not grow as much as others. But again, it may be if you don't have a stable growth token, an asset-backed token could be something of interest. Like it could be a company. You buy into a token that is basically a security of a company, like a SaaS company or e-commerce company, something that has decent growth and doesn't suffer too much on when there's economic suffering related in the US or elsewhere. So I think that's something like it could be real estate, for example. It's not massive growth, but I think real estate gives you a tiny bit more. It depends where in the world, but like in Asia, it's often a little bit higher than inflation. In the US, maybe it's a lot closer to inflation. But anyway, I think asset-backed token could be something to put some money in when it's not allocated to a more high-risk, high-growth tokens, something similar to a stable growth token. So anyway, so out of those 11 niche, for me, AI will be one. I'll put a little bit, maybe 20% in layer ones. And yeah, we put some layer two maybe in that category. I'll put a little bit in SocialFi. And what's interesting about SocialFi to me is that GameFi, to build a AAA game, you need a massive budget, like maybe $50 million or more, and it takes years to build a quality game. Meanwhile, SocialFi, like building Facebook or building Instagram, doesn't cost that much. It costs almost nothing, to be honest. The thing is that you have to struggle with scaling when you get a lot of customers, but building the app itself, you can do that on less than $100,000. So people can bootstrap that in a few months or a few weeks even. It depends how complicated it is. But to me, this SocialFi, it doesn't cost a lot of budget, but it has the potential to bring just as many users as GameFi. So I don't think I'll put too much in GameFi, but I'll definitely put more in SocialFi. And I want to put some in gambling and a little bit in those two, DeFi or TradeFi. And I think I want to maximize SEC compliant security in those categories that I just mentioned. I'm not sure I'll put too much money in asset-backed token. And stable growth token, I don't know any on the market. I'm working on one personally, but I don't know any right now currently on the market that I would put money in.
And I have a question about the AI. So there's so many projects now around, like within the AI. And what's the kind of a best approach to find the right company to invest in, like in AI industry?
Yes. So let's go back to the portfolio here, AI. You need to be able to store data because you cannot do AI without data. So that's a pretty big step. Right now, there's two projects that are well known. There's Filecoin and there's Ocean Protocol. They've been on the market for quite a long time. So I don't think they will necessarily grow massively unless there's a AI project that scales like crazy and it needs to store the data on those two. For example, BitTensor, it's a layer one that enable you to run AI model and train AI model, but it's not really optimized to store data. So ideally, you would want to store data either on Filecoin or Ocean Protocol and link that to BitTensor to train and run your model on. So you need both in the case. Meanwhile, in terms of, it's not storage, but it's rendering. That's another big piece. There's render is the most well-known, but there's a lot of much smaller one in that category that we can look at. But rendering is if you're, it's not just purely for AI, but training an AI model costs a lot of computational power if you do it on Amazon. Meanwhile, you could use render to train your AI model. So that's if you just want to train your model and then you put it back once it's been trained, maybe you store it back onto Amazon or somewhere else like that so that you can operate your business. Meanwhile, the thing, if you do that, you may as well just do it directly on BitTensor. So that's why I think BitTensor will grow a lot more than it has, and it has grown quite a lot since it launched. But right now it has 1.8 billion market cap, which is not that much, but it's new. It came out this year in March. And that's another project we reviewed like quite a while back on Curator. And since then, it's up almost 1,000%. And the thing, I've looked at the tokenomic of that. It's following a lot of the Bitcoin tokenomic also with the halving process, and you have to mine this coin. So I think it will be SEC compliant also.
So the price for it is like 300, right?
Yeah, I think for me the price doesn't matter. It's the market cap that matters to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As Bitcoin is like $40,000, it can go to 1 million, it can go to 10 million. The price itself is irrelevant. But the market cap is what matters. Like Bitcoin is at probably a bit more than $1 trillion of market cap. Essentially, let's think BitTensor, if it fulfill its promise, 1.8 billion, I'm pretty sure it can do also 10x to 20x, maybe even more this bull cycle, as long as there's one AI project that built on it and succeed. And there's actually an equivalent to ChatGPT that currently you can use for free. And it runs on BitTensor, and it was trained on BitTensor. And Corcel. I won't give it a try here. The thing, you can go to the community of BitTensor to see, but it's called Corcel. And you can basically, like just like ChatGPT, you can interact with it. So that means that their chain is functional to build project on right now. So I think we're going to see a lot of project that built on it and will launch very recently, very soon. And that's the thing. When you invest in a project that is at least one bull cycle in the past, there's lots of people who will sell at the opportunity to get back their money. But if it's a new project that just launched, those people are not there. So people didn't suffer like a 90% collapse. So they're not waiting to get back there where they bought in to exit. So you don't have that baggage basically. So new project, the one that succeed tend to vastly outperform old bull cycle project. So I think Tensor and everything that will build on it will be one of the category that I put in, because it will be a lot of AI, and hopefully the project that launch will be SEC compliant also. If not, at least BitTensor, I would believe, I'm not a lawyer, but I would believe that it's SEC compliant. And I think I would put probably more in BitTensor than I would put in the other layer ones. I would probably put some in Ethereum, just because of the Ethereum ETF that is coming. I think it will be a good opportunity. I'll put a tiny bit in Bitcoin, not as much as other people, traders that recommend to put the vast majority in Bitcoin. I think I'll probably put more once we get closer to the bear market, I would say. And Solana is definitely one that I'll put in a decent chunk, because I think that ecosystem was there last bull run, and it did really well. Last bull run, I think it did a 40x return. That's what I would maybe expect for BitTensor and potentially. I think I calculated the other day on Solana, before the last bull cycle, it had like 800 million market cap, and then it grew up to a 40 billion market cap in that one cycle. So that's why I say that a market cap of 1.8 billion or even 2.7 billion, there's still plenty of room to grow. As you can see here, you were at $1.50, and it went up to I think Solana will probably surpass the last all-time high this bull cycle, because the thing, their technology is not a lot more ready now for decentralized app to build on it. And you've seen last week, we discussed airdrops. We talked about Jito. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to get enough points to get the airdrop itself. If I had, I was just short a few points, to be honest. But everybody made more than $10,000 on the airdrop. The people who qualified. And the thing, I was pretty close to get it, and I didn't put that much capital. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And saying right now, the price is holding strong for now. But you see the market cap is fully diluted. It's $3 billion. It just launched like a few days ago. And to make you comparable, Jito is an equivalent version to Lido. So see Lido, which is on Ethereum, it's relatively the same as Jito. It's a 2.2 billion of fully diluted valuation, but Jito is more than that, which is crazy, because that's a new project. So people have the dream, and even though Solana is nowhere the amount of market adoption that Ethereum has, like a project that built on Solana get massive valuation. So that's why I think building a portfolio of project that built on Solana and having a bit of Solana is a pretty good strategy. Okay, so graph is another thing that I would put in the AI category, and that's for indexing. So most blockchain are built to store data sequentially based on timestamp. Graph enable you to store data more like kind of a social graph, for example, in a graph data structure that it's not really about the timestamp. It could be about some other type of relation in your data. So this is very useful for AI because do you want to use your AI to compute things that are related to time or to compute data that is about relationship in the data, which is not about time. So that's why graph is very interesting. And as far as we'll have to look deeper into that one, but as far as I know, it's mainly prevalent on Ethereum, but we may take a look and maybe it's supporting other chains as well. If it's only on Ethereum, then I would try to find the equivalent of graph, but on Solana and maybe on BitTensor ideally. I think BitTensor is a bit too new. There's not that much application yet, but as they come out, we need to keep some money to invest in them. Say is one layer one that I would have considered, but right now we have maybe too much that I would stick to the other one. I still want to consider it because of the ETF and because it's been accepted by the SEC at this point. The SEC complained about the staking mechanism of Ethereum, but at the end of the day, Coinbase is allowed to list Ethereum, so I think that's enough. And the Ethereum ETF is coming as well, so I think it's relatively safe on that perspective. Yeah, so Say is a chain that is extremely fast, and what's interesting is the finality of writing a transaction and then it's complete is among the fastest. Say and Sui are both on really close to each other, but Say they are really optimizing themselves to process trading data on exchanges. That's why this one may have some interest. I will put it that it's not a guarantee that I invest in it, but that I would at least consider it because of the TradeFi narrative that I mentioned and DeFi narrative. If a lot of exchange end up running their kind of database engine on Say, that's interesting. It may mean that the Say gets a lot of market adoption. But I think at this point,
have the fastest transaction process that you can ever find in that industry.
Yeah, in terms of finality of completing a transaction, yes. There's other chain that has faster throughput. It depends what matter. For TradeFi, finality of transaction is probably the more important concept. Right now, we have, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana, Caspa, BitTensor, and Graph I'm interested. In regards to Filecoin and Ocean Protocol, I would have to review both and pick one. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's something else that is even more interesting that I don't know about. So in terms of data storage, you need that no matter what, because BitTensor it's not where it shines. So definitely we need to pick something there.
But for example, the AI, so there are some tools that normal people can use as for the AI, and they're like a different way to invest is just, let's say, projects are built to run the AI. So
yeah,
they're like two categories.
Yeah, it's saying so render, you can run AI model, you just train them with render, but then you store them on Amazon and you don't have to involve any decentralized aspect at that point. So it doesn't benefit your users. So a lot of people love render, but for me, I would much rather have BitTensor where your community can own part of the value capture because that is decentralized AI as opposed to centralized AI. The other thing is that render can be used for GPU rendering also. If you are making a movie and you have a lot of CGI to render, like 3D models and that stuff, you can do it on a GPU on render as well. So you don't necessarily need to do AI. It's both AI, but also anything that is really heavy and can be run on a GPU, then render is where it's interesting. But for me, I think I may skip that one because I want to focus on the storage because data in AI, that's where the value really is. But meanwhile, the money would flow first into the application that is interacting with the users. It could be ChatGPT. In this case, it's BitTensor with Corcel. But then eventually, if the data is not stored on BitTensor, then one of those protocol of file storage would benefit from that part. So I would still want to invest there. And the indexing may come ND depending on the use case. Now, in terms of social fi, that's a category I want to invest in, but I've tried Friendtech, I've tried almost every social fi that there is currently on the market, and I think it's not there yet. I think we're going to see a better version of social fi coming out soon, or maybe it just came out and I'm not aware of, but I would keep my eyes open to invest there, but right now there's nothing I'm really tempted to put money in. GameFi is the same thing. Illuvium is not doing so bad, and it's a AAA game that it's currently on the market or in beta, or anyway, people can use it, but I think we're gonna see other games that really get traction with users, like 10 million users, maybe 100 million user at some point. And until then, I don't know which game will get that just yet. I think it might be games that are not even yet announced, but have been in the work since 2021, because it takes a long time to build those games. So I'll keep my eye open there, but right now there's nothing. I do own some Illuvium, by the way, but there's nothing currently on the market that I'm really that tempted to put in, except maybe some CDFI. That's something we can consider. So CDFI is you're basically not investing in a game directly. You're investing in a launchpad for gaming project. It's interesting. And also there's Engine that might be interesting to look at. Engine is a SDK API that you can use. It's a Unity 3D. It's a framework to build games, and you can incorporate the SDK of Engine so that you can integrate crypto more easily. This one, they had a partnership with Microsoft, so they're not doing too bad. I think they might get, I'm not sure what's their status now. It's been maybe 2 years since I've looked at them, but something to consider that it's more tooling for the industry as opposed to specific games. All right. So gambling, Rollbit is definitely one to keep an eye out. But Rollbit, I think now is the #1 crypto casino. It has grown a lot in the last since it came out. But
because I think that there is now a trend to play poker there. Like really many people are getting in there.
Exactly. And I think a lot of the crypto people are gamblers by nature, because they, like, I'm not one of them, but I really see that it's a casino makes a lot of money. Like, the house always win. That's the case if you do it properly. So a crypto casino would make a lot of money, and if the profit are partly distributed to the community members who own the token, I think it's a no-brainer that it's a good investment. Like, it's not obviously I'm not, how do you say that? I'm not a financial advisor, so don't take my words for granted. But for me, I'm very much interested to either invest in Rollbit or find other much smaller crypto casino that are on the growth path. Because I think Rollbit has grown a lot already. But I think there's still probably a lot of room to grow. And if you look really at the tokenomics and the revenue that are being produced every day, it's quite impressive. The other project, I'll start loading it now. It's a project that I did buy already a little bit. So it's called Based. This one currently has a like $7 million market cap. Very small, a very, very high risk. But I think unless the team behind this do something really bad, like a rug pull or some sort of scam, I think it has a lot of room to grow, because Rollbit has a 500 million market cap. I would say I would not be surprised if it passed a 50 billion market cap this bull cycle. So that means that it's, a 100x maybe. So it has grown a lot, but I really think this one has a lot of room still to grow. The other thing to it that is interesting to look at is, you see it's being traded on Uniswap, Hellbank, Orca. It's not listed that much on that many exchange. And it looked like Rollbit is built on Solana. So when you, like I said, that if you want to invest in a chain, also heavily consider investing in the project that built on a chain. So I would have to double look, but I think it's on Solana. So that means that you don't have to maybe invest as much in Solana itself. You can invest in but I would diversify, because there's a lot of risk in investing in a single project compared to a chain. But yeah, that's it. Based game. Let's take a look at that one. So if Rollbit has potentially a 100x still to grow to $50 billion of market cap, this one at 7 million, like, it's insane potential growth from now, because 7 million is almost nothing. So this one is extremely risky, but it didn't exist before. It's relatively new. So unless the team pulls some sort of scam, if they operate decently, maybe they'll catch up to Rollbit, or maybe they won't. But even if they were to reach just 500 million, they're at 7 million. It's almost a 10x, like maybe 8x. So I really think it's worth it, because it's possible that it could go way past 500 million. I really think Rollbit is not done growing. So. And I think there's plenty of other type of cryptocurrency to look at. So I'll try to find the time to identify more. Feel free to try to find some on your own, but I think gambling is a good niche. And it was not a niche that was there last full cycle. So a lot of the project will be new.
It's quite new now, right? For the bull run, for the new bull run.
Yeah, so exactly. So I think it's, if we were like earlier, we said that old project sometimes don't perform as well because there's baggage of people who just want to cash out as soon as they get back to where they invested after they've lost a lot. But those new project, people didn't lose yet, not that much. We are still pretty high, and unless the people bought here, they suffer a 40% loss. It's not that much, and we're just beginning the bull cycle. They're most likely going to recover quick. They don't have to wait 2 years to recover their money. It just happened. So that's why I think investing in new project, I didn't really lose yet. They don't have that toxic anger behind them to sell as soon as they can. So I really think this is gonna grow way past that. So, and I think probably consequently this one too. So I would put very little here, because you don't have to put that much if you get 10,000% growth. So yeah, so those are the categories.
So it's something that you will have to do during those 2 months, right? To be in the right moment. Because it seems like now prices they go down,
Yes.
which means they prepare for the huge spike,
Yes.
probably.
So what I want to do is next session, we take a look at TradingView, and we can look at those projects, and then we can evaluate what would be a good entry point. Because that's the thing, is you don't want to end up buying necessarily at the top. You want to time your entry to buy at the right time. And the thing, you don't want to use your entire capital in one go. You want to spread it, because if we happen to suffer some sort of crash, that it goes back to like CDFI, if it goes back to 64 cents, but now it's at $4, it's not a good experience. You may as well just buy a little bit now and keep some stable coin ready to deploy when the project start to dip. I don't know why, but CDFI existed in 2021, so I'm not sure why TradingView doesn't show it. Let's take a look here. So the fully diluted market cap of CDFI is 400 million. Yeah, that's the thing. So it still has, if it recover the entire all-time high of last bull run, you're still a 5x from here. Is it 5x? You're at $4 to 6. Yeah, four times. If there's quality game that come out, AAA game, and they launch partly on CDFI, I think it's not impossible that we see the $16 go above that. Depends if it's quality game that launch on CDFI or not. That's the big question. Because if it's all crappy game that nobody want to invest in because they want to keep their money for the AAA games, and the AAA games don't want to launch on CDFI, then maybe that's not going to perform as well. So we have a lot to evaluate still, but at least now we have a bit of a few categories to consider. I think for me, a lot of AI, a few of the chains that I'm interested in that I think will perform well, like Solana. And Ethereum is just, again, it's the ETF thing that I'm interested. Bitcoin, I may just use leverage or options to buy into Bitcoin instead of, or maybe it's when I want to cash out. If I expect some project, I want to take profit in some project, maybe that's when I'll convert to Bitcoin more than buying Bitcoin right now that much. Yeah, Caspar is a good one, BitTensor. Yeah, so we'll have to find more. I think right now we don't have anything in SocialFi, but I think it's a good one. Is there any category that we missed that you particularly like?
Yeah, I think from this sense of gambling, I would try to pick on that more because I heard from many people that it's getting like really popular.
Yeah. One that I would add to the list, Ton, it's a layer one for Telegram. What's interesting here is that they have two different wallet integrated in Telegram, one that is non-custodial and one that is custodial. But the point is that you, just like a mobile app, that you can deploy a mobile app, you can actually deploy Telegram apps. And then you can now make those apps integrate and connect to those wallets, crypto wallets. So you can actually make crypto transaction in Telegram without ever leaving Telegram, just like you would on a mobile app. And it's not the Telegram app that is just pure text, like the chat of Telegram. It actually launch an app that you can have visual things. So there's crypto casino on Telegram. There's all kinds of different apps. I think that might be something to really consider there, because Telegram has a massive amount of users. I think it's several million, if it's not close to a billion. And I think you don't have to convert all of them, but it's an easy way to get access to users compared to any other crypto project. Sometimes it's difficult to, because it's a lot of friction. So definitely something to consider. A lot of project where unibots, it's basically Telegram bots where you can do trading. So let's say that you're already somewhere and you have a trade that is like you're still waiting, you get an alert and you need to act now to decide if you sell or you buy. I think there's 52 million users on Telegram. So it's a lot of users to tap into and with friction. So yeah, it's to keep an eye out with Telegram. I'm not sure I would buy the Ton layer one that much, but maybe there's a few projects that will launch there that.
But it's quite new, right? So from the last bull run, the Ton haven't existed yet.
Yeah, good question. I think it's pretty new, yeah. The thing is, the Ton coin is at almost $12 billion of market cap. So it can grow further because of 55 million users. It's a lot, but I don't know if they would convert all of them. It did launch in 2021 before the bull run. Then they got cut in the bull run. Yeah, I think they suffered the crypto crash, but not as much as other project. They had just launched when they. Yeah, I think this cycle it may grow a lot, but at $12 billion, it may go to 30 or 50 billion. At 3x is, to me, doesn't excite me that much. But the project that will launch on it, I think some of them will do very well. So definitely.
It happened 2 years ago when Telegram became really popular.
Yeah, I use Telegram every day, so I think it will continue to grow in the crypto space. Telegram is really useful. So very large community on Telegram. I think that was it for today. So that next week we can try to come up with more project in the list. I would recommend anybody to comment on the video below to add which project you would want us to consider in the portfolio. And then we can take a look at the TradingView to see where would be good entry point to start buying and DCAing into those projects.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look on the different projects as well. We see maybe there will be some of the different and really interesting ones to look at.
Sounds like a plan. All right, so we'll see you guys next week then.
Yeah, thank you.